It's about patience and time and trying to protect yourself when the world's hard. And the world's hard right now. So now we're in a protection mode, and there's opportunities out there.
I think one of the things that makes Mike unique, Atlas Real Estate unique, that he has taught me is that when a client comes to me and says, hey, Evan, I want to sell my house, the first question I ask is,
welcome back. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. We're doing a very special episode here. I'm inside of what I think is a vault, an old vault, but it's now a wine cellar. I'm here at Atlas Real Estate with Evan Rice, Mike Hills, and we're here to talk about real estate production, all sorts of stuff. I'm excited to learn. Mike, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get here?
Absolutely. So, well, first, this is a vault. It was an old Loomis Fargo. So there's big bays out there. They used to drive the armored trucks in, open them up. There's like machine gun turrets, because this was legitimately a bank vault that I don't know how many millions and millions and millions of dollars ran through, but it's now our office, and it's a really cool conference space and meeting room. And it's great to talk to our customers about. In terms of me, I've been at Atlas 12 years, started off as a property manager all the way through what I'm doing today. And we'll get to that a little bit later, but a little bit of my backstory before that. You go to your high school counselor, and your high school counselor says, do what you love. And I love to drink and gamble. So I love that. I mean, check this out. I owned 2 liquor stores in Colorado and was building a casino in Blackhawk, went through the licensing process to own and operate a casino. Then the world collapsed in 2008. And one of the pieces of advice I give investors today when they're finding a sponsor, a partner, or whatever, it's like, find somebody that's been through hell and come out clean on the other side. Find somebody that's lost. Because if you've only been investing in real estate since 2015, yeah, you've made some money. But have you really been through it when the market turned?
Yeah.
And how did you survive? So back then, by 2011, the world had collapsed. The liquor store essentially cost me, the casino essentially cost me both liquor stores and my best friend, which is probably the hardest thing of this. And I was looking for something else to do. And at the time, I owned my primary residence and 4 rental properties. One of the founders of Atlas and I went to undergrad together, and he was like, hey, why don't you come work for Atlas? And I was like, dude, you're kind of a dick and I'm a worse dick. So can we coexist? And I just lost my other best friend. I don't want to lose you too.
Yeah.
And here we are almost 13 years later. And it's been a heck of a ride. But my foundation, what's interesting is back then I was playing in men's sin, gambling, drinking. I wasn't married when I was doing that. Now I'm married, have little kids. And it's one of those things that now I get to build people up, help them go make money. And it's where all aligned interests are aligned, meaning that, if our clients make money, I make money. If our agents make money, our team makes money, I make money. And we're all moving in the right direction, trying to get to financial freedom rather than playing on men's vices, which is what I used to do, years ago.
You way undersold us. I didn't realize that he was casinos and liquor stores.
yeah, he's a hell of a card player. He's a little card shark. I don't play cards with you guys at all. So occasionally I get invited to play cards at Boykin's place, and I'm like, I played once and I realized really quickly they were all sharks. So I just say, thanks for the invite. You guys can stop inviting me.
I mean, it's one of those things that the gambling component, I love it. I will literally bet on anything, but now it's just for fun. So just for fun, but that was a weird chapter of my life. And I think about it, I'm like, man, that doesn't feel real. And it was really fun. But again, I wasn't married, was just trying to make money. And I was like, I can make money almost taking advantage of humanity. Mm-hmm. And man, it just felt.
What year was that the switch happened from?
So I bought my first rental in 2001, owned it for almost 20 years, opened my first liquor store in 2003. And then the second one, 2005, 2006, owned the real estate under that one. And then the casino project in 2007. And it all culminated in a burning ring of fire, which I don't do anything little. When there's wins, they're big wins.
I love that.
And when there's losses, just get out of the way because it's going to be a burning ring of madness.
Yeah.
And that happened in 2012. 2011, 2012.
So it hasn't been, which is cool for, I think, for the audience, because I
Yep.
feel like I'm totally naive about real estate, you know. But it hasn't been like that long. It hasn't been like 50, 60 years of investing in real estate, but it's enough that you're obviously very, very successful at it.
I'll let you know tomorrow. It's real estate is one of those things, patience and time.
Yeah.
Kind of like geology.
Yeah.
Just give it patience,
Yeah.
give it time,
Yeah.
let it cook, and it's going to be fine. When we buy, we have a mantra around here. When we buy as though we're never going to sell. Will we sell? Of course, we'll get in and out of different things. But the idea is to buy and be relatively certain that it's going to go from here today to here tomorrow. Now, what's going to happen? It's not going to be a linear line. It's going to be a whoop, 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 whoop. And right now we're in a whoop, which is not very fun, but I deeply believe that it'll come back. Your guess is as good as mine as to when, but it'll come back.
Yeah.
It's just about being patient. It's like a 12-round fight. I love martial arts, been doing martial arts a long time. It's kind of like, we're not even in round 2, we're in round 6, but this isn't a 12-round fight. This is a 35-round fight. So there's a long, long time. It's about patience and time and trying to protect yourself when the world's hard. And the world's hard right now. So now we're in a protection mode, and there's opportunities out there.
Yeah.
Take advantage of those opportunities.
I love that. I love the martial arts analogy. What round are you in today?
3 or 4. I'm early.
You've been hustling around to some of your rentals.
How many times can you get punched in the mouth and stand back up? In the real estate world feels like that. Like, we have clients ourselves, people are getting hit right now. You're falling down and knocking down. And do you have the intestinal fortitude to stay in the ring and keep doing it and keep pushing forward?
That's good.
And if you do, you'll win.
Yeah.
Someday I'm going to write a book
I love
on
this.
why
This is good
investing
stuff.
is like martial arts.
Well, we were in Mexico about a month ago, and Hills was showing me some martial arts moves. He taught me a few moves if I ever get into a fight. So if you ever...
Well, I did get in a fight. So Evan and I did this thing called Rise Up Kings, which they, at one point, I'm not supposed to tell you this, they make you fight each other. And I got my butt kicked. And it made me feel like such a wuss. And I'm like, man, I got to learn how to fight, especially when my kids
Talk to Hill.
That first time, it's funny because the first time you get in a ring, even for fun, wearing gear, not wearing gear, and you're standing across another grown man that is trying to hit you in the mouth. There's this fight or flight response. And in a weird way, the real estate world, like the world, not just even real estate, like tariffs and interest rates and everything's like that. Are you moving forward? Are you fighting or are you flighting? Are you moving back and getting out and dealing with fear? Because really that's what we're talking about, is overcoming fear. And that's what I think fighting is the same way.
Love that.
That very first time, man, when you get hit in the mouth, it's like, dude, that hurt.
Yeah.
Should I quit?
Yeah.
Or do I get back up and keep going forward?
Right. That's great. Do you have any follow-up questions?
No, man, if it was easy, if real estate investing was easy, everybody would do it. And I think Hills mentioned you got to have some intestinal fortitude to do this for the long haul. But you also got to have a really good team surrounding you, a good broker, a good lender, a good property manager. And I think that's one thing.
Liquor store.
A good liquor store in down years.
Yes.
But that's one thing that I've learned here at Atlas is like, you got to have a really good team to get you through the dips, if you will. So Hills has taught me a lot, but that's just one of the things.
Think of this. Go back and find somebody you consider old. And age is very, very relative. Me talking to my, 25-year-old self would be like, dude, you were old. Get back in the gym, baby.
Yeah.
But go find somebody you consider old and ask them a simple question. Here's a question. If you could go back and redo it and own every house you've ever owned, would you do that? Everybody, almost to a person, will tell you, yeah, because I'd own 5 or 3 or 12 or 17 houses and I'd be set. The thing is that no one teaches us how to do that. The system, and I mean that, the banking federal system is set up for the banks to make money. And if you don't believe that, you're wrong. It is. Think of amortization schedules. Every time you finance, every time you sell something and buy something new, your interest rate, your amortization schedule starts over. And if you don't know what an amortization schedule is, look it up. This is how the banks make their money, and they do it on our backs. But if you learn the system, and I learned it very, very young, and have just taken advantage of the system in a very good way. It's like learning the rules of a game and playing a game, but everybody's telling you to play it this way, and you're like, no. I'm going to play it this way, and you win. Take your favorite sport. Take football. The West Coast offense changed the way the game is played, and now everybody does it. And I think real estate in a certain way is kind of like that, but people don't think of it that way because they think of it with your money. But again, go back and ask, go find your grandma or your grandfather or your neighbor and be like, hey, if you could own the 4 houses that you've lived in your whole life, would you? And they'd all be like, yeah. The intestinal fortitude is, can you deal with the pain in the neck that it is? Because it is annoying.
Well, it's easy when you want to like upgrade to a new house. It's easy to sell your existing house to get that big down payment on the new house. It takes a little bit more intestinal fortitude to keep the old one as a rental and then still upgrade. And that's kind of what Mike's talking about, and that's what we're about here at Atlas, is helping people build generational wealth through real estate investing. Buy and hold real estate investing. The Coors Light of real estate is what we like to say.
Well, in the end, we started the investment side of this business at this company with the idea to try to solve one of America's great problems. And that problem is retirement. Americans do not have enough money to retire. And if you're listening, the idea of saving your way to prosperity, what I mean is you get a paycheck and you save 10% of your paycheck or save 15% of your paycheck, is so hard to do. Why? Because life is expensive. Cars, broken down cars, kids, tuition. You know what the biggest one is? People that go through divorces. These are one of the biggest ones. Life is incredibly expensive. And saving your way to prosperity is really hard. And you know what we do as Americans? We trade our time for dollars. And then we take those dollars and we buy the things that we need. I say you trade your time for dollars and buy things that help you make more dollars. It's like planting seeds. This is what faith is all about. It's planting those seeds for tomorrow. I think, not to get to take this too religious, Christians actually understand investing. Not that they're very good at it, but they understand planting seeds that grow from today into something that's fruitful better than many, because of this idea of sowing and gathering and growing and reaping. And that's all real estate is. That's all investing is. It's doing something today for the benefit of tomorrow. Our society, we live in a microwave society where, man, I want it now. I want it now. I want it now. And we say, look, take a step back. And if you play the game, and it is a game, the right way, what you do today will 100% benefit you in the future. But nobody knows when that future is.
No.
Could be 5 years, could be 10 years, and there's going to be some hard times, because right now is one of those hard times. It's really, really hard, but the end is still worth it.
I think one of the things that makes Mike unique, Atlas Real Estate unique, that he has taught me, is that when a client comes to me and says, hey, Evan, I want to sell my house, the first question I ask is, why? And do you really want to sell it? Or do you want to, can we keep it, make it a rental? Atlas will manage it for you, and we can help you with whatever else you're trying to do. But it really kind of sets us apart, because again, like, we're thinking big picture, long-term, how can we best serve this individual, this investor? And a lot of times, again, the easy answer is, yeah, I'll help you sell it. But we're not about doing what's easy. We're about doing what's right for the long-term for the investor. So,
well, and check this out. Evan hit on something that's really interesting. If for those listening, for us, go interview 5 real estate agents. Hey, and say, I want to sell my house and buy something new. I bet you dollars to donuts. Remember, I said I like to gamble. That each one of those realtors will be like, awesome. This is what I think I can get for your house. Why? Because they get paid. They see and they smell commission. They got 2 transactions, one on the sell side, one on the buy side. A good one that's actually getting to know you and what you want and what you're trying to accomplish is going to do exactly what Evan said and say, I don't think you should sell. I think you should keep it. Or I think maybe the house is too nice. I do think you should sell, because this wouldn't be a good rental. But instead of taking that entire down payment and lumping it into another purchase, let's take that down payment and split it. Lump it into another purchase for you and your family because you need a place to live. But let's take the other one and invest the money into your future. How about this? I've been teaching this for years. So I said I have 4 little kids. My oldest is 14. My youngest is 7. For each one of my children, before they turned 3, I bought a house, put it on a 15-year fixed rate, fully amortized note. What that means is I make very little cash flow. So I have this house, I take the rent, I pay the bank, and there's very little left over for me. But that's their college fund. And I did it before each kid turned 3 years old. With my little guy, my 7-year-old, I did it before he was born. So when he's 14 and a half, that house will be completely paid off. What it does for me is I don't have to think about saving money for college anymore. It's already done for me. And that's the kind of future planning. If you ask most Americans, hey man, what's long term? They're going to tell you, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. Like, really? When I say long term, I'm thinking 15, 18, 20, 25. I'm trying to plan my retirement now, not 2 years before it happens. And that's what we're talking about when we're planting those seeds and sowing way, way, way down the road.
I'm going to move in a different direction than one of the questions I told you. But so the concept of this podcast, the Big Hitters podcast, you deal with a lot of real estate investors, people that are probably own companies, things like that.
Sure.
What have you found that maybe they think differently, do differently? Like what ties them together? Is there any trend or theme that you've seen with people that are multi-millionaires and have achieved a lot?
Yes. So, the ones that make it outside of real estate invest in real estate, and the ones that make it in real estate invest in more real estate, or potentially maybe invest in companies or seed money.
Right.
The one thing that I think there's two. One, the men and women that do this are willing to take an incredible amount of risk. They just take an incredible amount of risk. They take risks that normal people would never do. It goes back to, we talked earlier about intestinal fortitude. They will do things and see opportunities and take risk and opportunities that nobody else sees. Number two, they work incredibly hard. And I don't care who you are. There are some, unless you did it the old fashioned way, which is just inheriting it. Which if you did, good for you. I was not one of those kids. The joke I tell is I was born in a trailer park, and I don't know, about 7 years ago, I bought a trailer park. Man, I was just going home. They were all my people. I just have no tattoos on all my teeth. That was the only difference between me and them. I sold the trailer park.
I love that.
No offense to anybody that lives in a trailer park.
I mean, I lived there. That was the first place my dad ever owned, was a trailer. So just, it is what it is. Be proud of where you came from, and learn something. And if you want to be different, be different. But I would say they risk and hard work. There's a whole bunch of other things, but those two things, successful people, I think, are willing to sign their name on the dotted line and take incredible risk.
Betting on themselves, essentially.
Betting on themselves. Generally, I say that there's two kinds of people with money without the ideas, or people with ideas without the money. Very rarely do you find rich people sitting around thinking shit up anymore, because that's just not what they do, because they don't have to anymore. So now young people or old people with ideas are chasing their money, chasing their seed investment. So that would be, but hard work and the willingness to take risk. We have a saying in this company that when the world is greedy, be scared. When the world is scared, be greedy. And I don't mean greed in the negative sense. I mean greed in the sense that there's opportunity. And I think right now there is opportunity in our world.
Yeah. Time, energy, and financial freedom. That's really important to me. It's important to a lot of our listeners. I know for me, virtual assistants and artificial intelligence, I think that's the 1-2 punch. What things have you seen in terms of achieving time, energy, and financial freedom?
So time, energy, financial freedom. I like to work. I like to work hard. I'd put my work ethic up against most. But I really think discovering your why you do what you do, why you're wired the way you are. And for me, I started my first business when I was 16 years old. It's funny because I didn't realize this at the time, but for me, and I'm going to say a swear word, so I apologize to
No, that's one of my questions. I'm coming back to that one.
Delicate sensibilities out there. For me, I want the ability to you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean you money like you're a dick about it. I mean, when someone asks you to do something, you can just simply say no. I don't have to. It's the golden rule. What's the golden rule? Do you guys know what the golden rule is?
Which one? The biblical one? Or
Nope.
the other one?
Nope. The good one. He who has the gold
Makes
the rules.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If you have the gold, you get to make the rules. And I don't mean being a jerk. I don't mean holding it over people's heads. I mean the ability to say, no, I don't want to. There's a movie out there called The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg in it, and there's a scene where he goes and borrows money from John Goodman. So if you like movies and you like scenes, there's a financial planning scene. It's not financial planning, but it's a financial planning scene in that movie where Mark Wahlberg is asking John Goodman for money. Watch it. It's like 3 minutes long. It's fantastic.
When was this movie?
10 years. It's Mark Wahlberg. I don't know, 10, 12 years.
Both those guys.
So
John Goodman.
yeah, it's just that particular scene is fantastic. And I think it's about financial freedom. And for me, I grew up in a household where my father told me what to do all the time. And I just grew up, know thyself. That's one of our other things. I grew up just hating being told what to do. You need to go do this. So I realized if I have money, I just don't have to do that. I get to negotiate. I get to choose. In terms of freedoms, it's kind of just using what's out there to make your life easier and better. Like I love some of the AI right now with, we get a lot of contracts. I get a lot of non-disclosure agreements for my role and what I do. And I'm not a lawyer and I simply don't want to read a 15-page contract. So taking that and putting it into AI and saying what's good, what's bad, and it spits it out in 5 minutes, it's fantastic. Like some of that is fantastic. We're exploring auto dialers that, one of the things this has recently hit me, I think call centers will likely be a thing of the past. If you own a call center out there, I would divest and move your money into real estate. But that's a different thing because I think what's happening, I interviewed a guy that's working on building something for us that they can do 50 calls simultaneously and between 50 and 75,000 outbound calls in a month. It's just, that's the new future. It's fantastic. Cyberdyne's just around the corner for those movie dorks out there. So it just, I think those things are changing, but it just saves our ability and our time to make calls, and technology just makes things faster. Doesn't make things better necessarily. What do we all have? We all have cell phones. All a cell phone is? It's an absolute tracking device. We don't think of it that way, but it's true.
But I think some of that AI that Mike's talking about will take tasks off Mike's plate, off my plate, off some of Mike's employees' plate, so that we can go add more value to our business, to the Atlas business, and delegate some of the non-value add stuff to the AI. To the AI.
Well, and a lot of people say lean into your weaknesses. And I say, no. Lean into your strengths, hire out your weaknesses. If you're bad at something, why do you do it? Don't learn how to make it better. Lean into who you are and hire out of that. AI, I think, can help with that. Technology can help with that. And I think it's a great help.
Where do you feel like you could be using it, but you're not?
Could be using it, but I'm not. It's
or just the firm in general.
I think it's just faster adoption. It's old dogs. I'm getting old. You're like, I don't want to do that. That's just different. It's just accepting what it is and doing it faster. I think that's it's in sales called speed to lead. Like the faster you are, you get to the lead, the faster it is. So what do? I try to hire people younger than me that bring me the new technologies. Because like this guy that I was telling you is building this dialer for us, I didn't find him. One of our guys that I hired found him because he's in it every day.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Ferry real quick. One of our boys. Mike, I want to talk real quick about your new role here at Atlas, VP of Capital Markets. Tell us high level what you're doing, why you're doing it.
Okay. So let's take 2 steps back. So when I first started at Atlas, I owned 5 rental properties, bought my first and sold my first multifamily. So my first 4plexes in 2014 and 2015. And what happened at the time, and I'm going to compare the two, so thanks, Evan, for asking. At the time, what I realized is that there's a whole bunch of realtors out there that sell residential real estate. Residential real estate would be a house for you to live in or your family to live in, or a house you live in that you're going to sell. That's residential real estate, generally how I'm using the term. Commercial real estate is anything that's investment. So investment focus. We're not talking about buildings or raw land. We're just talking about houses either to flip or to rent, anywhere from single family homes all the way up to big apartment buildings. Well, what happened at the time is the market was segmented, and I didn't know this, that residential realtors, I won't mention the names, but everybody knows 5 different residential realtors out there, that they know nothing about rental properties. But then your commercial men and women, the people that were selling the apartment buildings, they don't want to do 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 units, because back then, 10 years ago when we were doing this, you could buy a 4plex for $400,000. Today, that same 4plex is worth $1 million, $1.2 million. So it's a little more interesting. But back then, a $400,000 house, somebody that works at one of the big commercial firms in town, or even the small commercial firms, they're not chasing the 4plexes. They're chasing the 10 units and up. So what happened is there was this tranche of real estate from like 2 to 8 units that we just started buying and selling because that's what I liked. And I was tied to more 4plexes in Colorado than anybody else at any brokerage in the whole state for probably 4 years. I don't know, call it 2015 to 2019. And then we, like locusts, we moved to Phoenix and then Tucson and now in Kansas City. But what we did was we got really good at those small investment properties for the individual investors out there, the men and women that want to buy investment real estate, but they don't have $2 million to buy a 20-unit apartment. So they need to start with a duplex or start with a fourplex. So that was the tranche that we got really, really good at. Well, so now let's take a step back. Atlas got really good at buying single family homes and then large private equity. Large private equity, we own and operate a fund that is worth $900 million. It owns just under 1,700 homes. And we did this with one equity partner out of San Francisco who scratched a check for $240 million. And then we layered on debt. And that fund is worth, it was about 750 million bucks. With appreciation, it's worth, call it $900 million right now. So we have, dialed is not the right word, but we have very, very good contacts in the very large pieces of private equity that buy real estate. As an example, Zillow was buying real estate. When Zillow was buying real estate in Colorado, everything they did was with Atlas. We did all their acquisition, all their disposition, which is just translating for buy sell, 3,000 or 4,000 transactions over the 4 years. So these are the kinds of companies that I'm talking about. Well, what we realized is kind of like the old school way. We didn't want to do the single family homes, the regular realtors, and we're not commercial brokers. So right now in the money raise world, in the single family for rent, we're not after, the single family homes. We have the big private equity. We're missing the middle tranche. And that middle tranche is the family offices and the very wealthy individuals who are looking to buy real estate. But apartment investing is just really hard right now for a whole slew of reasons that we all know. So how does that family office or that middle, that investor that's got 10, 20, 30, 50, $100 million bet on the American economy, but not in apartment buildings? How do they get involved in this new industry called the SFR, or single family for rent space, that was born in 2012? So that's what I'm doing. I'm out there talking to these people, raising money and helping them put their money to work in a way that's never been done. And for those, if you know what I'm talking about, we call it a risk off bet. What I mean by that, when you buy an apartment building that needs a whole bunch of work, or you want to go develop land, that's a risk on bet, meaning that when you put your money down, it's very, very risky, versus a risk off bet, meaning there's always risk in every investment, but you're likely not going to get what's known as opportunistic returns, your high teens, low 20 returns, but you can get safe 12 or 14% returns buying single family for rent in a couple different ways. It's what's known as scattered site or build to rent. And build to rent, which is buying apartments, but really not apartments, it's full communities of single family homes to rent. So it's new trend in the market, and that's what we're out there doing.
Not sexy, but effective, it sounds like.
That sounds very familiar to me.
It's good.
That's my wife, if that's how she feels.
Yes.
Okay. This is the most important question I'm going to ask you. Are you ready? What's your favorite swear word? Why? And can you use it in a sentence?
I don't know. I like to cuss. So I was at a Kid Rock show a million years ago.
This is great. I like this. This stories are starting out the right way.
And it was what used to be, I think it's something dental now, but it was Coors Amphitheater, but it was back when it was Fiddler's Green. And right before he came out, he used the word fuck in a bunch of different ways. He's like, let's see how many times I can use the word fuck in a sentence. And it was a verb, and it was a noun, and it was an adjective, and it was awesome. And I thought of that, and that was, 20 years ago. But Kid Rock, if you ever listen, I appreciate you still.
Yeah, maybe we can get Kid Rock on.
Blink-182 does something like that too.
It's really funny.
Man, I lost my train of thought, but I had some. Faith in the workplace. Following up on your swearing. Mm-hmm. Faith in the workplace. Talk about your faith, and where do you see that? Just take it any direction you want.
So I would call myself a recovering Catholic. So for those of you that like football out there, did you see the meme that said it took 2 days to elect a pope and 3 days for Shedeur Sanders to get drafted? So I saw that made me laugh. So recovering Catholic, go to a community Christian church now. My kids actually go to Christian school. It is really, really important to me to just have a faith component, because in the end, I believe that we're all created in the likeness and image of the creator. And if we treat each other with dignity and respect, the world is just a better place. And if we can make money ethically, we can treat people the right way. I mean, I launched an initiative at Atlas, which I'm really proud of, which is, we call it the Uplift Program. And we call it the virtuous cycle. And it's where we actually go out and teach our renters, whom we call residents, different word, different vernacular, but think of resident versus renter, the difference in what it means to that person. Teach our residents how to buy real estate, because we want them to buy real estate. Most landlords out there be like, no,
That's really good.
I don't want to teach my residents how to, my renters how to buy real estate.
That's cool.
I want to get rich on their backs. And I'm like, no. A rising tide raises all ships. The more of us that can be owners of real estate, and in the end, that is our passion. That's what we're trying to do. The more of us that can be owners of real estate, if we can teach our residents to buy
Has
real
anyone
estate.
done that, just out of curiosity?
Oh yeah.
So another shout out to Chris Ferry, who I love, who I think Mike hired. That's his job, to talk to our residents, to get them to buy real estate, to turn them from residents to homeowners,
Yeah.
and then from
Really?
homeowners into investors.
And guess what? They pay their rent better on time. They're actually better residents when they're in this program.
Yeah.
They pay their rent on time. They treat the house better. There's more open communication between their landlord or their property management. Think of the word landlord. The word landlord comes from feudal Europe.
Yeah.
Why? Because he who owned the land was the Lord, is the Lord of the manors from feudal Europe, 1,000 years old. You don't go fight for me in my war, I throw you off my land. I mean, so we want to bridge that gap and break that old school relationship. But I think that comes back to faith in the workplace, because it's one of those things that, I'm very careful about who I say it to. But in the end, I mean, people will know your heart. Maybe not the swear words, I don't love that, but them.
Okay, we got to wrap this up. Last parting thoughts. Anything we didn't talk about?
For those of you listening, buy real estate. Don't be afraid. Get over your fear.
Where so new role, where can people find out more about that? Or if they want to learn more or touch base with you, like how would they go about that?
So realatlas.com, you can look us up there. My email address is michael@realatlas.com. So feel free to email me. I probably won't give my cell phone out this way, but that was the first thing. I was like, I'll just give my
What
cell
about
phone.
your address?
And my home. I think my wife would get a little upset with
We can put it in the show notes.
that. Right. But
That's good.
call us, talk to us, find us online. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's one of those things that I'm not on Instagram or Facebook. I'm begrudgingly on LinkedIn. So I'm not a socials guy. But I think buy real estate. Don't be afraid. And if you have an idea and it's a good idea, there's money out there that'll help you.
Love that. Evan, any thoughts?
Awesome, man. Mike, thanks for doing this.
Mike, thanks for joining us. Hey guys, real quick plug for Virtual Assist and Freedom AI. A combination of virtual assistant and artificial intelligence is the 1-2 punch you need. Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right,
guys.
See ya.